Alright, so I've got my 3 pieces clamped together, and I'm gonna just put some tack welds on the corners to keep them all lined up so I can grind the common face flush so it's all even, all that. So we'll just do this quickly. I'm still learning how to TIG weld, so bear with me. I don't know if you can see that, but got a couple tack welds on that corner, and then really messy weld on that one edge. So I think next time if I was going to do it again, I'd orient this up so I can kind of not have to lean over it sideways and kind of see if I can let gravity do a better job for me there. But we'll let that cool down. And so that may be a little too hard to see, but we'll try. This edge here is just supposed to be the flush where my main sheet metal surface is, and that edge is where I can hammer the corner down, and so it'll drop down and go flat against this surface here, which is, I think this drop down is only, I think it's 85 thousandths of an inch, and so drops down, and then the sheet metal goes flat, kind of like a bead, about 350 thousandths out, and then it wraps around like a flange. And so we're gonna stick all 3 of those together once I profile this face here so they're all even. I just ground them down with a sander and a flap disc to get them close, and so I figured once I welded them together, we'll smooth out the profile as one single unit. So it looks like it's a single piece of steel, and it's actually 3, and it was a lot easier to bend that way. And so there is a few spots where it's kind of opening up, and so I'll probably clamp those together. Alright, so I'm tack welding the top of this together, and I'll grind it down. Alright, I learned something new. What happened was that my stack of plates, I welded it on the very bottom edge where I wasn't going to be hammering, and what I noticed is that in this top edge I was getting, the plates were starting to separate, and so what I decided to do is clamp them together and then drill some holes in the back of this plate so I can get some plug welds in there to hold it tight. The trouble I had was that drilling the holes in this single plate, after everything was all put together, the little chips from the drill bit was getting caught and wedged in between the plates, increasing the gap that was between them, and that was the exact opposite of what I wanted to happen. And so I had to sit here with a little knife and pick out all the little chips and things like that, and then there was even a couple spots where I couldn't get all the chips out, and so what I did was I really clamped it down on both sides of this hole, on both sides of the hole that the chips were at, and then I just laid on the welder to heat it up and just the theory was melt the chips down into liquid so they would all flatten out. And so I think that worked pretty good. I actually did hear it, once it heated up just enough, I kind of heard it snap, and so I think that was the little chip flattening out. And so I think I got them good. I don't know if you can see, but it's a little discolored now, so it makes it a little hard to see, but their gap is nice and tight. And so I'll probably flap the back of this to make sure it's flush, and put it up against my wooden buck here, and then we will figure out what I need to do to secure that piece of steel that goes over. That's gonna be my patch panel. So what I'll probably do is kind of pre-form it in this direction that it needs to go, and then I may just put some screws far enough back that they're not going to get into the patch panel and try it that way. I don't know if that's going to be... I've tried that before, and I don't know that it's going to be that great. So you really need to cinch it down. So I may need to put a few screws along here, and then I got 5 sheets, so I have a feeling that it's going to take a little bit of practice. So once I get there, I will set that up, and we'll get hammering. I think one thing I may want to do, rather than just taking a hammer and trying to beat it into the corner, I'm going to create a piece of steel that kind of roughly approximates this curve and this arc that's on here, and use that as kind of I guess a dolly or a hammering implement. I don't know if there's a fancy name for that, but that's what I'm going to do. And I am a little concerned about since I got 2 bends really here to form, what the best way to do that, or maybe what the right order. I mean, I could bend the sheet over on the main flange, and then once that's bent, try and clamp it down, and then try and hammer the little bead detail in there. I think that might be my best shot. The other way would just be to hammer in the little bead detail and then do the flange and go back and forth and try and get everything to sync all at the same time. I'm a little worried about that, because once I form the bead, and then if I try and form the flange, it's going to want to pull that flange over and maybe pull my bead apart. So I may try a couple different ways and see how that works. So I will film those whether I get it right on the first try or not. So okay, let's get to work.